All right, so went ahead and started the recording here. Um, Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay, should be good. And then, like I said, if you guys have any questions that kind of come up, as we're going, just feel free to drop them in chat. Or, if you guys have any live trades you want me to take a look at, feel free, because I actually got a pretty good amount right now. After a ridiculously slow October for me. What's going on? Get the Roselle brothers in here. All right, yeah, we got some people funneling. Yeah, so like I said, if you guys got live orders you want me to check out, feel free. This is kind of what I'm looking at the moment. I actually have a decent amount. I just took a loss on Euro NZD, and then I actually missed this trade. So I'll probably delete this one because when they miss due to spread, um, you know, it's in a variable that I can't really do anything about. So I will typically delete those ones despite them not forming new structure or new high. What's going on, Sugar? But yeah, if you guys have any other trades you're looking at, or if you just want to share what trades you got for this upcoming week, feel free. Um, a lot of slow volume for me in October. I probably had a ridiculous. I think the last 2 weeks maybe only just a few trades. A lot of misses too, to be fair. Um, but yeah, wicked slow month for me overall. Still in profit. I mean, I had a great month, but just a slow one. And like I said, Haroon has a data review that he submit here, so we'll probably start off with that. Um, Let me see if I can pop it over this side. Okay. So he says data for 2023 attached. Let me know your thoughts. 2024 data tab next to it if you'd like to compare. But yeah, I do remember going over 2024. So let's take a look at this. I'll drag this over here, make sure I don't miss any questions. And then, can you analyze my data? Yeah, for sure. You send it over. I'll go over that as well. Like I said, usually I give priority to people on the call. So I see you and Haroon are both here. We'll go over both your data today if we want. So this one's a backtesting session, 23 and 24, and he's got 24 to 25. So take a look here. I mean, first things first, I'll typically check out the equity curve, which it does look a little bit slower at the start of the year here, and then definitely picks up towards the end. 56% win rate, and that's obviously realized. That's his overall. This is his realized win rate, 32, which is really good. 5,700 gains, so 57% on a 10K account, and 200 trades in the year. So to me, this is really good. Definitely some stagnation at the start of the year. We'll take a look at some trades and maybe what the difference was by the beginning versus the end of the year. But actually, one thing I do want to mention, so typically it messes up the graph if I do this, and I know you obviously have your saved document, so it doesn't matter too much. But if I were to resort this instead of by pair, put it by date, it would definitely change that equity curve. You know what? Just to go along with it, we'll check it out. Because one of the first things I mentioned before, it's very likely you can just have a rough year on certain pairs, and just by the way that the testing occurs, if you test certain pairs that are really rough compared to others, that's when you'll get this kind of stagnation at a certain period until you start testing those better pairs. Because we kind of all already know this, but our strategy is an accumulation of different pairs with their different edge kind of combining together. So when it is sorted in this kind of format, your equity curve will definitely look a lot different. Now, I do want to see, I can convert to a table. See if it converts properly, and then date, and we will sort newest to oldest. Let me check here. So that's, oh, you know what? It's because he's formatted not like us Americans here. So let's take this. Let's go to home, custom, more number formats, date, and 14. Wonder if I can get away with. See if I can get away with this one. December. Okay. I mean, it seems like it worked for the most part. It messed up on just a few here. But okay, let's resort from oldest to newest. Circular reference. Oh, gotcha, because it's linking to that total account game, but it did it anyways. Um, let's see here though. Is it going to give me the total? No, it won't be able to. It's unfortunate. But usually it's because a lot of these columns in this specific spreadsheet reference themselves pretty heavily, so this column is all based on this total gain value. But on a typical spreadsheet, I can just resort and then remap the equity curve based on that. But we'll take a look at it nonetheless. And let's see here. So, and I did get your data val, by the way, too, so I can pop that open. But I want to take a look at some of the beginning part of the year. Let's look at some of these trades. Okay, we got the pink and yellow chart colors going on. Let me make sure you guys are popped open on this side. This has got to be the most interesting chart colors I've seen. Trying something different. He said, don't ask about it. I don't know why. Yeah, maybe someone was just messing around with the FX replay and kind of changed the layout for us. A lot of these look pretty good. Now, one thing I actually am going to do here is I've noticed very quickly you have about 32 trades. He said, Javon kind of fire. Oh, he said I did it on purpose. He was just feeling it that day. But so what I do notice first off is you have about 30 trades in AUD USD. You have another roughly 30 here, and then it kind of starts lowering and lowering. Now, what this does kind of tell me a little bit, now this could just be the variance within the pairs per year, but it tells me that very likely a more aggressive style for you is not what's performing best. I guess I want to ask one thing, was there any type of rule change that you made as the year went on? Because, you know, one thing I'm kind of noticing is that more aggressive format where you have a lot more trades in very few pairs seems to be a lot more stagnant or less growth than when you started narrowing down your setups a bit, whether it was a rule change or maybe, you know, more strict on certain entry criteria, because we could see towards the bottom here, the end half of these pairs have a lot less trades, but a lot more profit overall. So that's something I noticed pretty quickly. And maybe I can touch back upon it more when I go over Val's journal, but I went over a student's journal this week, and I personally think that if you are going to draw any conclusion from a journal or backtesting, especially a live journal, I think number of trades is the absolute key. Like, that is the easiest way that a trading journal can stand out at you. And the reason being is this trader messaged me and he said, you know, he had a fantastic half one, meaning the first half of the year he did great on his live account. And then the second half of the year, he did much, much worse and actually ended up losing all the profit that he made in the whole first half in the second half with a consistent negative equity curve. And one of the first things that stood out to me is as the year went on, his number of trades just climbed and continued to climb more. And, you know, that was a very clear indication, and it's very easy on a live journal to see that. But at the beginning of the year, he was maybe averaging, call it 15 trades a month, and was doing really, really well with that. And then as the year went on, the second half of the year, he had closer to 27 to like 35 trades a month, and it was just not working for him. So, you know, that's kind of a clear sign when I think someone can kind of distinguish between conservative or aggressive and maybe what their style kind of benefits a little bit more. But I think more importantly, for a lot of you guys who are in call, I know a lot of you guys are trading live here that I see in the side chat. The biggest way to tell if you are what we call falling off of plan or like changing something subconsciously is using your trading journal and tracking number of trades. I think that's a huge one. Everyone answered here. He said nothing. I actually prefer the more aggressive style. Don't know if you remember, but in 2024, I went more aggressive towards the end half and my results were decent. I think I just had a rough start, progressed. Yeah. So I think that's more than fine. If you prefer a certain style over another, and you could kind of see in 2024, I remember you mentioning a similar situation. However, I will say this is where you start reaching that more aggressive territory, and it kind of did end up lifting your curve, if I remember. Check it out. Yeah. Honestly, though, you were pretty consistent overall. This is a really consistent equity curve. And yes, yes, I am. Yeah, okay. I just had to double check. I am recording. But yeah, this is a pretty consistent equity curve overall. I wouldn't say data-wise it shows preference over one method versus another, but yeah, 2023 a little bit less consistent. But like I said, that beginning half of the year, you seem to be hyper aggressive, and it's not really showing in that overall profit. Which is why I preferred, if I could sort by date, it would give a lot clearer of a point of view here. I just don't know how I would avoid that circular reference. I'm trying to think, because this links to I, which is I7 plus I8. Okay, so oh, I see. Yeah, it's because when you resort by date here, these ones that are linked to each other end up, throwing off the date or the order that they should be in, so it completely negates the growth column, so we wouldn't really be able to see. But yeah, I mean, it's just something to keep a note of. The more stagnant period here seemed to be that more aggressive period in this data set compared to the other data set where it almost looks like both styles were fairly consistent for you. Yeah, some of these are very aggressive in this first half of the year. Which, like you said, if you prefer more aggressive style, number of trades is like a really clean way to keep track of that, especially when you're on your live account. I think that's like one of the easiest indicators to make a judgment on your own trading, and that goes for everybody in the call. Like, it's one thing to, have other people go over the data. It's another thing to be able to look at your data and say, okay, I was performing really well when I was averaging 15 to 20 trades a month. Maybe I got a little bit of eagerness or aggression or whatever it may be, or maybe I got too comfortable with my plan. Now I'm trading closer to 30 trades per month, almost doubling it, and that has kind of negatively affected my data. It's those kind of indicators or those cues that you got to take into account to make sure you're keeping yourself on track. Yeah, a lot of these look good though. Nothing really stands out. That one thing I will note though is a lot of these very aggressive ones, like this one here, and there was even one here where didn't really have a great fair value gap here. We'll take a look at the exactly, yeah. So I was gonna say we'll take a look at the end trades and see if there's anything that we can kind of compare to some of these hyper aggressive ones, and maybe it's something that you may have left out towards the end half of the data, but we'll check it out. I think overall, though, the data does look good. It's one of those things where kind of the sequence of the way it was tested could look a little bit worse on paper. But like I said, if I had the ability to adjust this by date and then go through that way, I think it would be more than fine. Because, yeah, I mean, it seems fairly consistent overall. Yeah, definitely some more aggressive ones here. Like, this is something I wouldn't personally take, but, you could tell on some of these more aggressive entries, they're at least consistent with each other. Close some of these. Yeah, no problem, man. Enjoy the weekend. Yeah, I think overall though it does look it looks fine. I think the biggest difference here is that number of trades that I noticed kind of shrinking as time went on. Almost opposite of what you saw in your previous set of testing where we had some of these very low repetition months. Oops. And as you got towards the bottom, that's when you started taking more and more aggressive setups as time went on. I think my biggest takeaway for you would be to try and hone in on a preference and show that preference consistently through the testing, because I think one issue is if you have testing sets that go from conservative to aggressive models, you're averaging maybe 10 trades a month here versus down the bottom, I think it was closer to like 30. It stopped counting here for whatever reason, but yeah, about 24 here and about like what is that, 27 here. So getting closer to 30 as you got towards the bottom. The issue is going to come when you get onto a live account. You're not going to have a clear indication based on one of the main indicators, which is number of trades per month, to get an idea if you are what I would consider falling off plan, or maybe you're not being as consistent as you were in testing. I think the key here is both data sets were great, but I think honing in on your style would definitely be a good preference here, because it's very difficult to see a style transition like this, where we have very little trades and a very conservative entry model kind of transition into an aggressive one, and then almost like the opposite here, which I think regardless both delivered good profit, so it's nothing that would be too big of a deal, but it's something that when you're on a live account, it could become difficult to kind of keep yourself in check. So I think that's the hardest part of a live trader as a whole, is like taking my journal, looking at it, evaluating my amount of trades per month and making sure they're consistent with, what I backtested and what I'm comfortable with, and trying not to let that waver too much. If I had a month that suddenly had 35 trades out of somewhere, it probably indicates I'm being a little bit too aggressive compared to my normal style of trading, especially with 2% risk. I think that would be a bit too much. So, just kind of narrowing in and dialing in on your style. But other than that, I mean, the data looks great. The trades look good to me. Pink charts look good. So, yeah, not too much there. More that I would say about it. I do want to go over one more data set. So this one is mentioned final data, but I believe you mentioned live. So it's this one here. How you guys been doing with firms, by the way? I've heard so much good and bad about them lately. I honestly know FTMO is back in the States. I think even Alpha Capital is back in the States, and I have not given it a try yet. Oops, just doxed my personal email there. Whatever. But yeah, I haven't given it a try yet. I honestly don't know if I plan to. I've heard so many good and so many bad about prop firms lately that I'm kind of on the fence about it. I feel like I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. And maybe I'll do one as like a trial, you know what I mean? Like try an FTMO account, see if I'm comfortable with that trading. I don't even know what to call it, but the different parameters I guess that they put on it, and see if it's something worth my brain energy. I do know some people were told they can't risk 2%. Like I think Sven and Locke mentioned it in chat today. They can't risk 2%, which I think is just ridiculous. Like if a firm's going to limit the amount of percent you can risk because you're profitable, I don't know. Seems a little bit ridiculous to me, but we'll take a look here at this. So is this okay. I thought this was live trading. Did you mention live data or just back testing? Oh, you know what? It is back testing. For some reason, I read when you said analyze data, I read it as live data. So I just wanted to double check here because I was going to say it's a lot of trade. Yeah, no problem. I think it was my fault. I read it wrong. But we'll take a look here. I mean, the gain right away stood out to me, and win rate of about 60%, which is really solid. And that is, I don't think I can edit. Yeah, I can't. That's fine regardless. I think the win rate looks really strong. It's definitely on the lower end for an overall win rate, but the gain kind of, counteracts that here. Let me think. We got 549 total trades, 216 losses, with a 60% overall. If I had to guess, you're probably closer to like the 31% win rate realized. That's just a guess. It could vary, but it is definitely a good place to be for that overall win rate. Now let's take a look here. I just want to get an idea of how you tested it. Okay, so it looks like one pair for 4 years at a time. Yeah, 2020, 2024, pair at a time. Okay, we'll check it out then. And I mean, obviously the equity curve speaks for itself here. This is ridiculously clean. There's nothing much I would say about this. I think the big thing, 20 pairs, yeah, I mean, close enough. And this year, the only thing I would mention about it is keep in mind these losing streaks. This is something that could occur on a live account, but I think they're perfectly normal. Like, this is such a clean, consistent equity curve. There is some deeper drawdown periods. They happen periodically, but it's nothing to be worried about. There's even some periods of stagnation. Like, it will happen on a live account, but I think this style and this way of trading that you've kind of dialed in on is absolutely fantastic. Like, this seems to fit you well, because I've looked at other sets of testing from you as well. I'd say it leans a little bit more on the conservative side, kind of like myself anyways. But yeah, I mean, the consistency of it looks great. So we'll take a look at some trades here. I like these chart colors too. I think I took that trade. When was this? I think I took this trade. 2023, yeah, sounds about right. I took this trade as well. It's funny, I always recognize a lot of trades. It's weird because, you know, I don't even know hundreds and hundreds of trades I've taken on my live account, but I always remember them like visually. Like I took this one too. Gotta skip over a little bit there because it doesn't let me move the chart, but take a look at some more. Yeah, I think this looks great. Like, I just think how consistent you are with this, and you know, it looks comfortable. It's not a ridiculously overinflated equity curve. I think it's very realistic. You have these deep dips that occur in here, but they're nothing too significant and they're periodic. But I think the trades look great. This is honestly, it more resembles my kind of style of trading as well. A little bit more on the aggressive side. 550 trades in 4 years is, what is that, like 130 something? Maybe I just butchered my math, but can I pick your brain about passing funded accounts? Yeah, if you want to shoot me a question in chat, I can go over, I can kind of talk through it. You know, while I'm going over the rest of this data, I can kind of swing back on that if you want to type it out. We do have some videos on passing funded accounts, depends on kind of your style or I guess your budget for it even, when it comes to like multiple accounts and scaling, but oh, can I unmute? Yeah, I will in a minute. I gotta finish up this data review. I want to make sure I go over this. But yeah, I mean, I think your style resembles mine a lot, so it's kind of why in a lot of the trades that I'm seeing here are kind of what I've gone over. And I've taken a lot of these myself. But yeah, this looks great. And how have you been with live trading? Is it Val, VAL? I always assume because of the you know, your name, your actual name, but the annotation on your name always gets me because I have a box there. I know it's supposed to be an L. It used to be, I think, but I think you remember like, yeah, Val Invest, Valentine. Gotcha. That's what I thought it was too. The full name. That's why I always got mixed up. Is because your profile name on Discord has the symbols and stuff in it. I think I took this trade too. A lot of these trades I took, and I think honestly the repetitions are fairly solid per year. It's a little bit on that lower end, the more conservative end, but the gain kind of speaks for itself. 150% in 4 years. 2021, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so maybe 5 years actually, because 2020 is included in this and 2024. But even then, 5 years, 150% return is ridiculously great. There's nothing much else that I would say. If there's any questions you have specifically about it, let me know. But I think my follow-up question would be, how has either evaluations or live trading been going for you? And, you know, do you kind of keep log of that journal live? Do you keep track of it live? Or are you kind of still making that transition? Or what do you got going on? Yeah, because I remember this set of data too, which is also a really good one. Not this one here. All right, but then Angelo, I can, if you want to answer about the live accounts, feel free, Val. But Angelo, I can unmute. I don't know why. Some people get server muted if they have their mic on or something, and we've had private conversations get leaked into the webinars before, so I don't have any specific questions. Just want to get your opinion. I completed phase 1 a month ago. Nice. There you go. It's still in the process. Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest takeaway for you would just be, like I said, keep track of number of trades. I think that's like the easiest indicator to keep yourself on track, because clearly this style of trading that you have here is working for you great. If you could, I would recommend maybe sorting by date here and then evaluate number of trades, because it's kind of difficult to do so when they're labeled by pair. So what I mean by that is, if you can get it labeled by, for example, by month, and then you look at January and see that January has a total of, say, if I had to guess, maybe 18 trades based on the data I'm looking at here, just gives you a little bit of a better idea when you're on live looking at your journal and comparing the number of repetitions. And it's like an easy indication to keep yourself in check. I know a lot of people who they get on the live account and they start drifting towards 30 trades and 35, and as that kind of climbs and climbs, it means they're kind of transitioning away from their style that worked well for them in backtesting. But I think otherwise it looks great. The data is super consistent. It has some normal expected dips in it, as should be, and yeah, I think it looks awesome. 15, yeah, that sounds perfectly right. I said 18, but even me, like I'm around that 15 trade per month standpoint. I feel like we trade very similar based on what I see here. All right, let me talk to Angelo here. So, what kind of questions do you have about prop firms?